The Oregon Kayak Bass Fishing, or the OKBF for short, tour event series number 4 of 5 took place in a new location, the lower Umpqua River off the coast of Oregon. It would present itself with a whole bunch of new challenges for these anglers, like changing currents, changing tides, and of course the nasty coastal weather. But this event didn't do too much at all. It's kind of stayed calm, did its thing, stayed normal. Those of you that don't know, outside of the Pacific Northwest, the coastal weather can change on a dime. It's kind of crazy sometimes, but today, not so much. Or for this event, not today. Who knows what's like today? Not this guy. Contrary to the past 2 KFNW events for the month of August, this event was on fire. Not in the Cleveland River sense, but the bass were hungry, man. They were attacking, they were biting, everything was good. A total of 146 bass were caught in this event. And 17 of 26 competitors had caught limits, in my Common Core math correct. That's over half. Over half the competition caught limits, man. Summer bass time fishing in the Pacific Northwest is unpredictable at best. It can be mind-boggling, dude. Like one day on, next day not so much. You can see from all 3 tournaments in August from Oregon, Idaho, and Washington, the consistency was not there at all. And it paints a picture of like what it's like to bass fish the Pacific Northwest in summertime. Weather patterns are out of control. Later on in this episode, too, we talked to the winner, Trey Potts, about how he did it, what he did. And I've got new questions, man. I want to take a poll here real quick, too. Man, how many of you guys choose not to pre-fish before a tournament? Like, if you have the choice. Some people just don't pre-fish because they don't have the time. But how many choose, like, that's their plan, is to not pre-fish and just go at it? Trey has a pretty good take on it, man. If you want to hear it, it's coming up later on for sure. This event also included a striper side pot, which is one of my bucket list fish for sure. What doorbell? What the hell's that, dude? Hello? Hast du Stripper gesagt? No, man. Striper, not stripper. Weirdo. Lose this guy one time, McLaughlin Boulevard. Comes back covered in glitter. He's addicted to cheap steaks and gambling machines and little slot deals. Came back broke, too, man. I don't know. Friends, as we get into the midday update here, keep in mind that cell service, according to Trey and a couple other anglers, was not all that great on the river, so this might make a difference as to why only 22 fish were submitted by 9:30 in the morning, and a total of 146 were caught by the end of the day. That's kind of wild. So I assume that it's just a cell service. And that being said, Anthony Booth had 5 bars of service and a 5-fish limit by 9:30, and he was in the lead with 74 inches. Richard Childs caught a limit worth 67 1/4 inches, and he was in second place. Colin Sutton found 3 bass and a total of 40 3/4 inches, good enough for third for the moment. Speaking of cell service, on bodies of water with dead service areas, do you ever quit fishing early just to make sure you get your fish submitted on time? Like, is that part of your strategy if you're like thinking ahead, or is it just something you think about while you're on the river? Me, I always get off an hour early, man. I'm nervous about times and being late and having things submitted late in life in general. So that always stressed me. I never fished the whole day, not from lines in the line, or from lines out to lines in. Like, I always got off an hour early just to make sure. I never organized my pictures very well, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. We're going to get into the big bass portion of this event. Jason Lovell would win the big bass pot with a 19-inch giant river largemouth. He would take home a big check worth $356 and a discount tackle gift card. Very cool, man. He wouldn't be going back home to Colorado empty-handed, dude. What a day. What a trip. What a vacation. Leave us some money. It's good stuff, dude. Dude, he went all the way from Colorado to the coast of Oregon. Got the biggest fish. That's an accomplishment for sure. And as mentioned earlier, this tournament also had a special striped bass side pot. And longtime OKBF competitor William Eschlemon would win the pot with a 15-inch striper. He would take home $104.50. Quite the accomplishment, man. These side pots are more like a side quest. He's going to get you stripers. I don't know how many people have caught stripers out there that have been in this tournament, but I don't imagine a whole lot, dude. For sure. But Mr. Eschlemon had this to say on Facebook about the event. It's good life advice as well, man. Get you out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself, and have fun doing it. Kind of crazy, man. And disclaimer, man, anything you post on Facebook can and will be used against you in the court of social media. Signed Abraham Lincoln, 1860. Don't at me. I ain't saying nothing. Nothing. The rules are the rules, man. I can't do nothing about it. Can't do nothing. Deal with it. Congrats to Jason and William. It's good stuff, man. I want to catch a striper. I'm jealous. Super jealous. I want to get down to the top 10 now, dude. What a day of fish catch. 26 anglers caught a total of 146 bass. That's insane, dude. But with great amount of fish submissions comes a super close finish. Only 10 inches separated first from 10th place, and 2 ties inside the top 10. 6.25 inches was the difference between 5th and first place. That's close. That's super close. It was kind of crazy to watch. I don't know. It was crazy to watch for sure. We're going to start this rundown in 11th place position because there's a 3-way tie. Kagan Pancratz, another longtime OKBF competitor. Rick Kelly and Ryan Comer all caught 69.5 inches worth of bass. And that would take the 11th, 10th, and 9th in the standings for those three. What a day, dude. We're already tied up. Shoot, a couple years ago, 70 inches probably would have won that. Andrew Larson would break the 70-inch mark and finish in 8th with a total of 72.25 inches. Not a bad day for him. Mario Romero finished in 7th by half an inch over Andrew in a total of 72.75 inches, and he will keep the top spot on the OKBF Tour Series AOY standings, keeping the dream alive. Matthew Burdick, with a limit of 73 inches, landed himself in 6th place. We can always go ahead and assume that the Whopper Plopper bite was on that day. For sure. Plop master. Cody Allison and Gage Loveall would tie at 73.25 inches. It's a quarter inches more than 6th place, but it would be Gage's 16.5-inch largemouth that would win the tiebreaker and land him in the 4th place position. And this finish would be enough to put Gage in 4th place in the OKBF Angler of the Year standings, tied with the 2022 OKBF Angler Series winner Brandon Hua. With only one more tour event to go in the 2024 season, dude, now's the time to definitely make those moves, push people out of the way. Take your prize, get your money, claim your place in the KFNW Kayak Classic. Good times, dude. This season's coming down. It's a good season, too. It's super close, especially in the Challenge Series. We'll go over that next week, too. So like and subscribe. See that video as it comes out. Follow us on Instagram, too. There, TwoMoreCast. Facebook, TwoMoreCast, podcast. Facebook's a hard one to find people, dude. You're going to have to come find me there. Now we're going to get into the top 3. Man, these guys were only separated by 3.25 inches. Super close race to the finish. Everyone was just a 20-inch kicker away from just blowing this thing completely out of the water. Carlos Torres caught a giant 18.25-inch largemouth, bringing his total to 76.25 inches, and that would land him in 3rd place, and he would take home a check for $240. Dude, not a bad day of river fishing. Fighting some currents for some money, that's always a good time for sure. Then Anthony Booth would catch a 5-fish limit worth 76.75 inches, just a half-inch more than Carlos, but it would land him in 2nd place in this lower Umpqua event, and he would take home $721. Man, that half-inch was common core math, like $300 more. That's crazy. Half an inch. Here's some extra money, dude. He currently sits in 3rd place in the AOY standings. A lot on the line this season as it gets closer to the end, as we've mentioned before, but they're fighting it out, man. Trey Potts would go on to win the super competitive tournament, and we'll talk to him in a minute, but he had a 5-fish limit and a total of 79.5 inches. He would take home a hefty prize of $1,443 and a spot in the KFNW Kayak Bass Classic. Is he planning on attending the Classic? We're going to find out probably right now. We're going right to it right now. Today I am talking with the winner of the OKBF Lower Umpqua River, Trey Potts. Congratulations, Trey.
Thank you.
What was your game plan going into the weekend? Did you get a chance to pre-fish?
I didn't get a chance to pre-fish. I actually don't do pre-fishing for most of my tournaments, if not almost all of them. I found I do better without pre-fishing, so I kind of go in and just trust my instincts.
And it worked out. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely worked out, thankfully. I was a little bit nervous getting into it, but yeah, it worked out.
Did you have to change strategies at all during the day?
I did about halfway through the day. Once my topwater bite went away, I kind of had to sit back and think of what next would be the best option. And with the outgoing tide in that river system, I figured the creatures that hit up shallow on high tide had to come back down. So I went with the dark sleeper craw, and it worked out. Threw it up shallow and then fished it off to the drop off ledge, and that's usually about where I got most of my bites from.
How deep was the river? In parts, I guess.
I was staying in about the 15-foot range, but the banks were up to 2 to 5, and then it dropped out to about 15 feet. So it was a pretty steep drop off in that main channel.
Was the current pretty steady too, like the Columbia, or is it? How would you compare it? I guess to the Columbia River.
The outgoing current was pretty steady. It picked up a little bit towards I wouldn't say slack cool. It never really quite hit slack cool, but it picked up a little bit towards its final what do you whatever you call it, its final outing it picked up, and then the ingoing tide that came in pretty hard. That was probably some of the fastest current that I've been in. It was definitely worse than most of the Columbia.
You have a lot of experience fishing tidewater?
No. That was the first river I've been on tidewater. Other than that, the only spot I've been at was Sacramento, but that place was nothing like Sacramento.
So they had a striper bass side pot, I heard. Did you get a chance to catch one of those or attempt it, or are you just trying to catch a limit and win the event?
No, I wasn't even going to try striper. I've never fished for him before. Don't even know how to start fishing for him. So I stayed out of that. I never saw any striper blow up, but had I did, I probably would have chased him out of curiosity. But no, that wasn't my ball game to play around with, so I wasn't going to try anything like that.
Very cool. This was a super close event. Like a lot of fish limits were caught. Were you keeping track of the standings at all throughout the day? I mean, like 10 inches separated first to 10th place, basically.
Yeah, no. I For most of my tournaments, I don't keep track of standings to begin with. It kind of messes with me. I do better not looking at the standings, but I didn't have a service in my spot, so all my fish were uploaded. Once I got into town, just did a quick upload. So I had absolutely no clue where I was sitting. Nobody did, as far as I know. If the standings were turned off, no one knew where I was sitting at. So it was. I was nervous getting into it. I had very low hopes on it. There's a lot of good anglers in Oregon, and hitting water that I've never tidewater like that I've never been on. I was feeling good, but I also knew there's a lot of good guys in Oregon to compete against.
For sure. Yeah, that was definitely. It was a fun one to watch. I don't know how I would have fished it either.
Yeah,
So you never felt like you had that
it was a
tournament
little
locked
nerve wracking
down?
in the morning. No, I felt good about the quality of fish I was pulling out. I mean, I was probably caught 30 fish all day, but they're all 15 to 16 inches. So having that consistent stream was pretty good, but I never did get a big kicker. And the ones that I did get, I probably missed them. I ripped a lot of the lures out of, or ripped that popper out of a lot of the fish's mouth, and it probably could have done better. But no, I felt good with the quality of fish. It was just not having that big kicker to offset. It was a little nerve wracking. So I knew I had a decent bag, but I didn't know how good of a bag it was going to be.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't very many kickers caught at all that day. Like, it was really close. That was a really interesting finish, for sure.
Yeah, but talking to those anglers, there were a couple of good sized bass taken out, but I never got a chance to get the 17, 18-inch fish I was desperately looking for.
Right. And you fished in Idaho, Oregon, and Washington for these tour events. Is there one that stands out the most other than this one, obviously? Like for as far as like
Oh,
learning experiences go and just all around fun tournament.
Lake Stevens would be the learning experience one. That one made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes on all my tournaments. This has been a really rough year for me, but Lake Stevens was the big mistake one, and that mistake kind of stung. So I made sure to definitely not repeat it, and kind of made me put my head down a little more to get uh, to get better standings. I wasn't happy with where I was been sitting at, so that tournament kind of pushed that edge a little more than I wanted it to.
What's the next event you plan on attending?
Banks Lake. I'm going to do the last Washington event. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. That's going to be a fun one. I'm glad the pressure's off of getting into the classic. So that will be one to help improve the Angler of the Year standings and just go out and have fun and do the best I can to prepare for the classic.
For sure. That was my next question. You qualified for the Classic on Dorchak Reservoir. Do you plan on attending that?
Oh yeah, I'm not going to miss that one for the world. That That's what the whole season's been about, is trying to get to qualify for that one.
Right. And you fished a previous event at Dorshak Reservoir in 2022, and you finished in third. And really good time at that one. Does your history on the reservoir make you a little more confident going into the Classic?
Yeah, it makes me really confident with this one. I have a lot of history with this reservoir, both tournament wise and fun fishing. So I'm feeling pretty confident going into it. I know the reservoir pretty well. I know the top section of it better, the upper half I call it, from what we do at these tournaments. But the more I do the tournaments in the lower section, I feel better on it.
Makes sense. I think that's all I have. Do you have anything you want to
add? No, not really. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, thanks for being here, man. That was fun. The fifth and final event for the OKBF will be on the Willamette River in the Newburgh, Oregon area. It's pretty close to McLaughlin, so keep it cool, do your thing, stay out of trouble, be smart. I don't even know if McLaughlin Boulevard is even like that anymore. I'm just talking crap at this point. But yeah, that'll be it. That's gonna be a good one too, man, for sure. But like, subscribe, follow. We got more coming for sure. Find us on Instagram, twomorecast. I think it's just twomorecast. Facebook, twomorecast podcast. Doing things, moving things. People are finding us. We're finding them. It's all good, man. That's gonna do it for this one for sure.